This is FE Peer Review. The date is April 18th, 2021. Ranty's Awakening. How do flat earthers think? By now you'll all have heard about Ranty conceding to Baldy Cats that the evidence indicates a globe. Katz and Ruhif engaged Ranty in a discussion and did some excellent demonstrations. Katz used a very simple diagram of triangles and some basic trigonometry, which seemed to reach Ranty and shift his mindset. I found this ironic. Last September, Ranty put out a video of wind turbines apparently sinking into the sea. I responded with a video using an approach similar to Ruhif's, where I scaled from the turbines and showed how the hidden portion, here's the scale, there's the turbine blade and the scale I made from it, and I showed how the hidden portion could easily be measured. I measured down to here, and that it matched the Earth Curve Calculator's prediction of how much would be hidden. There's the Earth Curve Calculator prediction. Of course, I left a comment on Ranty's video alerting him to this response, and I got no reaction. Later, I used the same example in a discussion with Rachie and used triangles, rather like Katz's approach, to show how the observation matched a globe model and contradicted a flat model. I had given a very clear demonstration using an orthographic side view, showing an observer, the red triangle, an obstruction of some kind, the blue triangle. So the observer was supposed to be the guy up on the cliff above the beach, some couple of dozen meters above the beach. And then the blue triangle is supposed to be a wave of some kind out in the ocean. And then the green triangles are wind turbines receding off into the distance. And the idea was to address one of the flat earth critiques, which is, well, the waves are obstructing. So what I did was, with these two different examples, a small wave and a large wave, I showed the difference between when the wave is below eye level and when the wave is above eye level. And I pointed out that with the observer up on the bluff at the top of the beach, some 20 meters or so above sea level, were it to be this condition of a high wave, that would have been a tsunami and it would have been in the news, and it wasn't, so it wasn't a tsunami. The waves were below eye level. With the wave above eye level, you would conceivably have more and more of the base obstructed of the turbines. But with the wave below eye level, you can see more and more of the turbine as they recede from you using the flat earth model. However, when you look at the actual photo, you see the whole turbines that are close to you, and the further they are away, the more gets hidden. So the photo that Ranty was using and planning to analyze contradicted the flat earth model and confirmed the globe earth model. The only way this arrangement of objects could work in such a way that matches the photo is if the ground surface is dropping away. This being water, it's not a hill, so it's not a hillside dropping down, it's water curving away. That was my analysis. I shared it with Rachie because it was relevant to some stuff she was doing. Brandon Toy saw this and asked if he could use the clip in his show with Ranty. By this time, Ranty had handed the show over to Brandon, but was still participating in it. I agreed, but did not watch the show live. This is when it got interesting. Here's how they handled my analysis. Listen closely to Ranty's response to Brandon. So Rachie, if your point with trying to do this thing in the hallway is to satisfy yourself that Ranty has it right, I think you need to take a really close look at this diagram and give it some real thought. I think I've said enough.
Okay, well, let's give that diagram the thought that he asked Rachie to give it. And what do you guys think about this little orthographic diagram here that he shows?
Well, he's put in a perspective. Well, he's put an orthographic view without putting any perspective in.
Yeah, bingo. Yeah, absolutely. This is ridiculous.
You know, he's not reduced the height of the objects as they get further away.
He's applying Euclidean geometry to a site observation, period. And this is the Globers keep doing this. They just cannot let go of the Euclidean geometry. And this is the trick.
You heard it. Brandon says, what do you guys think? Ranty says, well, he's putting an orthographic view without putting any perspective in it. An orthographic view without putting any perspective in it. Brandon responds, bingo, absolutely, this is ridiculous. Ranty expands, he says he's not reduced the height of the objects as they get further away. So Ranty is saying that an orthographic view is to be dismissed if it does not contain perspective. I'll come back to that in a moment. Brandon finally says he's applying Euclidean geometry to a site observation, period. And yet here is Ranty in discussion with Katz, happily accepting these orthographically drawn triangles and trigonometry without there being any perspective and without the mountain being reduced because of perspective. So something happened between October and April. That's the mystery. Why does Ranty look at the diagram that I and others sent him in October, demand perspective in a orthographic view, and then 6 months later, happily, without any effort, accept that geometry does not contain perspective. Certainly not when it's being used to do trigonometry. Well, of course, I responded to the video they put out last October. I left detailed response, and then I also made an additional video response in which I went into detail about the difference between perspective and orthographic views and how they are mutually exclusive and serve different purposes, and that they are constructed different ways, and that they are both simply ways of diagramming space to communicate ideas. None of which got a response from them, of course. But just for the record, this is my video on orthographic and perspective views. Perspective and orthographic representations. I gave definitions of both from various sources. I showed how they're used in architecture, for example, here's a perspective view that's created using an orthographic view. Here's the plans, the elevations and the plan orthographic drawings used to create this perspective drawing. I gave that all to them. Never got a response, of course. So it would be really interesting to know what Ranty thinks about the fact that Katz did not incorporate perspective in his orthographic view, because that really seems to be the key. That and why he was not able to figure that out 6 months ago. I guess that's the message here. All this stuff was delivered to him repeatedly, and really nothing has changed in any of it. So what's going on inside that mind? How does a flat earther think?